Your predecessor, Ariel Sharon, unilaterally withdrew in the south from Gaza. Since that time, the only thing Israelis have received out of that gesture is thousands of rockets and been terrorized in their communities. You and Prime Minister Netanyahu both had an operation, went into Gaza. Do you think that both of you should, and again, hindsight is 20/20, but do you think that you should have went in, pushed out Hamas, and turned it over either to the Palestinian Authority or back to the Palestinian Authority or back to an international, underneath the international auspices, and let them run it and turn it back over to the Palestinian authorities? Because since that time, Hamas keeps rearing its ugly head, and it seems like each operation is short-term, and it just doesn't stop.
Number one, before the disengagement that was led by Sharon, I supported him wholeheartedly, so I share responsibility for this decision. I'm very proud of it. The fact is that they were shooting even before the disengagement, so the fact there was disengagement didn't change the attitude. But they made one dramatic difference which must be remembered, and the inevitable conclusions must be drawn from that experience to the future. When we were inside Gaza, no matter what they did, when we reacted, we didn't have the international support because we were described as occupiers of territories which we are not part of. When we pulled out from the territories and we attacked during the Lead operation and during the what do they call this last operation that Bibi made? Defense Shield, I think, right? No one criticized Israel for responding to the attacks by the Palestinians because they say, you did it from within territories which the international community recognized as part of the state of Israel. You're not occupiers anymore. Therefore, if you're attacked in your cities, inside borders which are recognized to be yours, you have a right of self-defense. And I think that basically that's what we did in the Lead operation. The air defense shield was not really an operation. Let's face it. After 24 hours, Israel asked for ceasefire. And the result of this operation was, unfortunately, I must say, I supported it, by the way. Okay, so I don't criticize the government for shooting Jabri. Jabri was an armed terrorist of the worst kind. He was responsible for the killing of many innocent Israelis, and he was doomed. And I have no complaints about it. I made a public statement supporting the government for this. Problem was that the government didn't have a forward position, so after 24 hours we called Obama and we asked Obama to call Morsi, president of Egypt, and we asked Morsi to broker a ceasefire agreement. And the outcome was that for the first time in the history, President of Egypt was sitting with the head of Hamas, the head of the Jihad, Islamic Jihad, and they got a position that they never entertained in the entire history of these organizations. And therefore, I think that the outcome of the Defense Shield operation was not as we would have expected it. Unlike Lead was a very brutal, I have to say brutal, yes. But I don't apologize. They were shooting Israeli innocent citizens in their villages, in their townships, in the towns of Beersheba, of Ashkelon, of Ashdod. And I don't know of one country in the world which wouldn't have reacted the same way as Israel did. Can you imagine, let's say Austin, okay? Relatively speaking, similar in size to Beersheba, okay? Being shot at with hundreds of rockets, and the Americans are not doing anything, not responding, not attacking the attackers. So that's what we did in Lebanon. Now you ask me, yes, we should have continued the operation. We should have taken over the Philadelphia line. We should have destroyed all the tunnels. We should have cleaned up entirely Rafah from the presence of the Hamas and destroy the Hamas control over the Gaza district, and then return the control with the assistance of an international army such as we did in the south of Lebanon, eventually return it into the Palestinian Authority. I was very much in favor of it. I tried to push it. I was the Prime Minister, but unfortunately the Defense Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, and a few other ministers were against it. It was 3 weeks before the elections. I was not running for the elections, and therefore I felt that to do this, knowing that there will be victims, casualties for the Israeli army doing it, without a consensus in the cabinet 3 weeks before elections, in which I don't participate, I think it was unfortunately impossible, and I regret to this day the fact that we didn't do it. I think it was a mistake.